I have a dream one day, a plan to have a boot camp, a kind of a summer camp for critical thinking, and to bring young people and older people alike, bring them in and say, this has nothing to do with politics. You can be a Democrat, you can be Republican, you can be whatever you want. This has nothing to do with where you are from. It doesn't really matter. It just has to do with the fact that we're bringing you in, we're asking you a question. How do you appraise? How do you look at? How do you review issues? Tonight's issue is why Putin was less than impressed with Tucker. Now, this is the story. This is what Putin is saying. When you ask people who are of the prototypical CNN left, they will say, well, because they don't like Tucker, it's because, well, Tucker is a fool and blah, blah, blah. If you talk to people who are pro-Tucker, Tucker fans, not Tucker ideology, not Tucker thinking, not Tucker intelligence, not Tucker worldview, just Tucker, like a team. Like, he's my team. He's the Yankees. He's Tucker. He's okay. They have a different story. I'm saying, no. Ask yourself the question. Irrespective of what you feel, you're going immediately, you're answering the question for yourself. You're answering the question. You're not asking questions about the question. The first question is, do you believe Putin when he said that? Why did he say that? What did he gain from basically letting the air out of the tires, from deflating the image and the ego and the excitement and the get? Tucker Carlson was telling everybody for the longest time, I've been wanting to do this. I've been wanting to do this since the beginning. And I have wanted to be a part of this thing. And I have this. And we have done everything. And I have done. Okay, fine. So everybody, in fact, Putin's team knew, obviously, because they've done research on this, that Tucker, this is his dream, his get. He just left Fox News unceremoniously. He left Fox News. He is involved in what amounts to, well, this situation, this whatever you want to call this. And now he's branching out. And he's taking on everyone. And he's incurring the wrath of the prototypical left and the right. I think is kind of less than enthusiastic, to be honest with you. But in any event, so what would be Putin's motivation? Why would he want to say, why would he kind of say like, wah, wah, wah? Well, I expected a lot more. He didn't really push me because Tucker, I thought, was being very courteous, he didn't want to blow it. Maybe he was intimidated. I don't know. But the question is, why? Why? And I've been thinking about this all day. First, you must understand, Putin is brilliant. He is a strategist like you can't believe. They think about stuff and they phrase things, and he's so unruffled. Did you see where he was doing the scene where he was just kind of tapping his leg? You know the way people sometimes will fidget with something? This is not some tremor. They made it sound like he was in some palsic fugue. All right, stand by for a second. I want to hear from you. I want you to answer these questions, but in a different way, not the usual way. Not the usual way you answer it. Now, you got to do me a favor. You better promise me that you are subscribed. Everybody here has to be subscribed. If you're not subscribed, I don't know what to tell you. And always make sure you remain subscribed. And also make sure you are hitting that little bell so you're notified of new videos and the like. And by all means, like this video. But first, listen. You know there's going to be more COVID-like stuff coming up, right? Right. Well, what do? Well, listen. Well, as if one pandemic wasn't enough, New York City's health commissioner has been waving the white flag. Biden's non-existent border policies are producing contagious diseases not seen in decades. The 2.5 million recorded migrant encounters at the U.S.-Mexico border alone in 2023 represent a new all-time high. And it's getting worse as we actively watch the escalating border standoff between Texas and the federal government. These illegal immigrants come from 160 countries, many, if not most, with terrible healthcare standards. This is driving a resurgence of rare diseases and bringing about new ones. That's where the wellness company's medical emergency kit comes in. This kit contains emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics, 8 life-saving medications, including amoxicillin, Z-Pak, and others that since 2020 weren't even allowed to be talked about. Can you say ivermectin? All of this to keep on hand in case of emergencies, along with a guidebook detailing instructions for safe use. In a time when many Americans say they would avoid a doctor or hospital unless it was a catastrophic situation, the Wellness Company's medical emergency kit provides a solution. The Wellness Company is home to Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Drew Pinsky, and truth-telling doctors who are rooted in their commitment to building a parallel healthcare system and empowering you to take control of your health. Be prepared for the unexpected. Go to twc.health/Lionel and grab your medical emergency kit right now. That's twc.health/Lionel. Use promo code Lionel and save 15% at checkout. Don't wait until it's too late. Take control of your health with the Wellness Company's medical emergency kit. And these kits are only available in the USA. So the question remains, my friend, what do you make of this? Is there anything to be said? Now, looking at this from a very interesting point of view, media companies, media, and the like, are absolutely, positively crushing. I'm hearing stuff I don't even want to tell you. Inside stuff that is so good and so great. I love it. And the reason why I love it is I want people to understand something. They hate you. They hate you. You're a freak. You are a freak. I have been through this for 35 years professionally. It wasn't really bad then until I'm trying to think when it really got bad. It started to get bad, really bad, I think, right? Not even 9/11. It wasn't there. I don't know when I'm trying to figure that, and this is a good exercise. When did the information and the opinion shut down really? When do you think that was, honey? When did it get really bad? 9/11 was 2001, but Wikipedia changed things. It was pre. 2010. When Trump hit, it was full blown. Because what happens is there were a number of things that happen in our society. Number one, if you are wrong, namely, you are not of the liberal, progressive, whatever it is. They have people like these fools on CNN and others who took a particular doctrinaire approach, and they just were acting as proxies for the radical left. Very interesting. So what they would do is they would come along and they would say things like, and this is important, they would say things like, and let's think, let's all do this, shall we? Write down in one word, please, because you don't like to do a lot of words anyway. I can tell from what you're saying, and that's fine. I appreciate that, because who wants to write during this? Write a word to describe why you should be shut down. Number one, conspiracy theory. One of the greatest forms of this is the granddaddy of them all. Conspiracy theory. Hate speech. Hate. You spread hate. Next, racist. You're racist. You spread racist, hate, conspiracy theories. White separatism. No, white supremacy. White supremacy. You're a white supremacist. MAGA. And once they link something, MAGA is now not the. And by the way, MAGA people don't refer to themselves. Remember something. You never use a phrase that people refer to themselves as. Never. Nobody calls themselves a conspiracy theorist, but you call them that. I don't know anybody. Do you know anybody who is pro-Trump? And I know some virulent, voracious, perfervid, lunatic, absolute Trump zealots who never refer to themselves as MAGA. MAGA is maybe on a hat. I've never heard anybody ever say that. I'm MAGA. Never. Have you? Never. Never. It's never been used by us. And I'm a fan of the re-election, but I have a lot of things to say about the way President Trump is doing this. As a person, I don't care one way or the other. I mean, he's fine, but I'm not a fanboy of the president. But they never use MAGA. Do you know anybody who's ever used MAGA? Never. Never. I don't know anybody. I'm MAGA. I'm MAGA to the core. Never. Never. But that's what they call you. So remember, the word they call you is a word you never use. Ladies and gentlemen, from parts unknown, weight unknown, number 16 in your program, number 1 in your heart, the lovely and talented Sparky, who writes, maybe Putin wasn't anything like Tucker expected. And he recognized early in the interview that many of his planned questions didn't apply, like many of Tucker's had 20 years of anti-Putin propaganda. Well, Sparky, I think you and I are probably of the age range where we would have done something differently. First of all, I think, do you believe that Tucker comes across very young? Not young and youthful, young in terms of inexperienced and easily swayed, don't you? Do you ever watch his, I can point to you affects. I've seen them. Let me explain to you what I do, Sparky, and this is critical. If you do something, if you have a lisp, if you're a tongue thruster, if you pronounce a particular word a particular way, if you have an affect, if you walk in a way, if you do something funny. I remember the first time I saw Putin walk, I saw that thing he does. Right hand. Now I'm confused. Left, one hand, one arm is stiff, the other hand sways. First time I saw him do that. First time. It was like, how did you miss that? So the first thing I do is I know all of his tells. All of this, there's this thing that Tucker does when he's kind of nervous or he has a lot of affectations. Let me explain to you. Putin is like this. That's Putin. President Putin, can you think of a reason why you would ever attack Poland? He's not laughing. That's the sound of preposterous. The notion is preposterous. There's nothing funny about it. He loves to do that. You ever see Trump laugh? Trump may mock. Trump doesn't do that. Trump doesn't say, well, we'll see about that. No, he's different. It's different affectation. I think there is a way. I think you would have done everything. Number 1, Tucker, how do you interrupt? Number 2, what happens if he doesn't answer the question? Number 3, what if you don't like the way the answer is said? How do you say this? You never have to practice being polite, but how do you stop things? How do you stop? I have done this so many ways. I swear to you, interviewed and talked to so many people in so many instances. And the first rule that Tucker did, let me explain to you something about cross-examination, okay? Let's say Sparky or Sam Stone or Bobby Johnson. Let's say that you and I are we're on this, and I'm second chairing you. You're whatever it is. I'm helping you out. Here's your witness. What do you expect to get out of the witness? Who's this witness? Let's say we're prosecutors. It's a defendant's mother. Okay. What do you think she's going to tell you? What are you going to get out of the mother? What? What are you going to go? You're going to ask her questions? What do you want? First question, what am I going to get out of it? What is the goal behind having Putin there? What do you want out of him? What do you want? What do you want him to say? What do you want? What is going to be your holy shit moment? Sparky says Tucker come across as young, and that Tucker comes across as young, and that things seem new to him in a naive kind of way. Absolutely. Absolutely. He's almost like saying, look, I'm the smart kid. You know who comes across like this? Vivek. Vivek is all talking, but not really. What do you think? What do you think? See, what I would have done is simply this is my take. I know what Putin's going to say. I studied the guy. I would have studied him. I would have people study for me. Tell me what his position is. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, this is what he's going to say. For the love of God, don't let him repeat everything he's ever said to everybody else. What do you want to tell him? What is it that you're really trying to do? What is it? What is it that you're going to do? The question is, they say you invaded. You invaded. President Putin. I don't want to go cross-examination, but isn't it true? You invaded Ukraine. Or what do you call it? Because the world is saying you invaded that country. And that's an interesting term of art. Invasion doesn't involve provocation. You know, if somebody says you slug somebody versus you reacted, you defended yourself, is a different concept. Are you saying to the world that you had to invade Ukraine to stop NATO or to teach people a lesson or what? Would it have killed you not to invade? What do you think they're going to do? Could you have waited until maybe they signed the NATO agreement? Right now, you've invaded. Nothing's happened. What have you accomplished? How many people have you lost? How many people have they lost? What is the goal? What is your military goal? What is your end that you can tell me without letting people know? That's what I want to know. First rule is, what are you doing? What do you want? We want Kyiv. I want him to surrender. I want him to kiss my ass and give me a half an hour to draw a crowd. I want Victoria Nuland to be supplanted. I want to have a document that says I'm right. I want them, whatever. What do you want? What is your next step? What do you want them to do? Apologize? Leave? We're sorry? Big mistake? What? Help us through this. That's what I want to know. Wouldn't you want to know that? I would. I know why you went in. I understand it. Well, what's the goal? What if they say, And what happens if he does say, what if they say, we're going full speed ahead with NATO? We're going full speed ahead with NATO. Ukraine will be in NATO by the end of the month or whatever it is. What happens then? You see what I'm saying? My question is, what are you doing? What is this? What kind of a military? What are you doing? Just circling? And by the way, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, because this is what we should have done, frankly, with Ruby Ridge and David Koresh. We should have waited. You want to take the Branch Davidians? Fine. We got our troops. We're surrounding you. I don't know what the hell you took yourself hostage. I never understood that one. I never understood that. There was reports of child abuse, but anyway. But I want to know, what are you doing? What are we looking for? I would have asked about Gonzalo Lira. What can you tell us about that? What can you tell us about that? I mean, he's one person. I'm sure you have others. Now, you want to get into, do you want to get into things like prisoners who broke the law. You want to get into Brittany Griner? I don't want to do that. Let me tell you something. We have a simple rule here, and it goes something like this. When you have a country, and that country says, if you spit in the wall, we're going to cane your ass. That's the rule. That's it. And you can think it's stupid. Don't go there. Don't go to Singapore or wherever the hell it was. Remember that? Was it? I don't know where it was, but they were going to cane that kid because he broke their law. It's stupid. You went there. They have this thing in North Korea. Somebody tore a poster down, took a poster. Oh my God, they go crazy with it. But that's the question. What did Tucker really accomplish? What was his goal? You know what Tucker said? Let me tell you what it was. It was, I got the interview. How was the interview? Who cares? I got the interview. I did it. Okay, but what did you accomplish? I don't know, but I was there. There I was in the room with the guy and the thing, and I did it. And you told me I couldn't. Sparky says Tucker could have asked him about the Skripal poisoning hoax, where the UK blamed Russia, resulting in Trump-era sanctions against Russia. That would have been Skripal. You could have also said, may we talk to you about this? Let's talk about people being killed, thrown out of windows, or whatever. Tell them. What do you have to say about that? What do you have to say about that? And what do you think he would say? What do you think he would say? What would you do? What would be the response? Because if I were Putin, I would be waiting for him. I would say, in your country last year, there were, I don't know, in New York alone, 12,000 homicides. Whatever. How many of those were responsible or were connected to President Trump or President Biden? Why would you think that a murder or anybody is related to me? Okay, they're politically active. Shall I go through? Many people have suggested that the Clintons were responsible because there were some people in their cabinet who themselves were found. Is that enough just to accuse somebody of doing something just because somebody who was critical or who played an important role in that administration is dead or found dead? I would have done right back. What about that fellow who was the polonium? What about this? What about that? And they're going to say, well, I didn't have nothing to do with that. Well, why did they say that you did? Because they're saying that only you could have done it. Ask him a question. He's ready for it. He's asking a million times. I would have I would have researched it. I would have said, how many times has he asked that question? See what the questions are before. Where's the research? Tough questions, easy questions. Don't bring this up. Don't bring that up. What do you want to do? I would have also said, in your country, what kind of, when is censorship, because censorship is my thing. When is censorship allowed? Ask him a question. Putin's going to say, excuse me, Tucker, this may come as a surprise to you, but whatever you ask me, it's been asked a million times. Do you think that Russians are a bunch of lemmings who just all the time kiss my behind all day long? Hell no. I get it. Both double barrel. They're still here. See, that's one thing I would say, I've got an entire network, all these people. If I was this big bad guy, they wouldn't be here, but they're here. You don't know anything about this. Tucker, our country covers 11 time zones. How many of you knew that the Chinese landmass was equal to ours? Didn't you think it was like somehow this huge? Well, maybe. It's basically our landmass with, wow. I would have worked on affect. I would have worked on everything from clothing. I would have said, I'm going to ask you a question, okay? I'm going to ask you a question. Okay? I'm going to ask you a question. And I did not see the stagecraft before. Who walked in first? Oh, he was late. Did you notice that? Always late. Always late. You always, everybody. People notoriously do that. But here's the question. I'm going to ask you something and you're going to laugh at this. I think Sparky will get it. But should Tucker have had a haircut? I know what you're thinking. You're going to say, that's the silliest thing in the world. Look at Putin, military, high and tight. Doesn't have a lot of hair, but the point is very, very militaristic. Here's this kind of he looks younger than he is. He's young. He, he looks a little nervous. And he's got the kind of, what's his hair? His Nantucket hair? Another thing Tucker did. For the love of God, when you've interviewed somebody, did you hear what he did? Now, I know you're going to disagree with me on this one, but I'm going to tell you. The first rule of video, the first rule in this YouTube world is take your story and chop it into a million. It's like taking cocaine and stepping on it. Have the story, do different versions of it, do shorts, do reels, do this, do that. I mean, shred it, take every permutation, every aspect of it, and monetize it as much as possible. I get it. I dig it. It's no problem. But when he sits back, he says, well, we just had our interview and got to tell you how I feel. You know what that said to me? Amateur, baby. Did you ever see Ted Koppel do that? Did you ever see Mike Wallace say, whoa, just talk to the Ayatollah. Wow. I got to tell you, that was scary. No, you act like I do this all the time. Do it all the time. Don't talk about how unique it was. Can you believe I did that interview? Wow, how cool was that? No, talk about the real issues. Sparky, by the way, who, by the way, is on fire tonight, by the way, thanks to whomever gave us the tip of putting a space after the first letter of keywords to slide through the forbidden super chats. Thank you. See? That's some algorithm, isn't it? You never thought of that? No, I never did. If they put a space, why? Huh? Tucker came back and he would say, wow, that was great. I'm a little tired. We've been here. Who gives a shit about you're tired? So what? That's par for the course. This is a guy who said, I can't believe how cool is this? I'm here in the Kremlin. Oh, God. Don't do that. And you know what? We had vodka. They called that vodka. And we went to the Bolshoi. It's pretty cool. We went to the subway. Okay, all right. You're a tourist. People have been going. There are people who go to Russia all the time. They act like it's the forbidden city. I'll never forget a dear friend of mine whose birthday he passed away. I loved him. British guy, oil business. We said, oh, he's great. And he says, have you ever been to Baghdad? I said, come on, please. No, I haven't been to Baghdad. He showed me his passport one time. He says, I have to get a new one. And there's no room for any stamps. The whole thing was like, it was incredible. You see, in Baghdad, there, it's wonderful. It's beautiful. And he talks about like, not like, I've been to Baghdad. It was the greatest thing in the world. For him to actually say, we went to Russia and they're nice people and their subways are clean. It's like, oh, Jesus, God. What a heck. Really? You mean they weren't eating with sticks? And we went to Moscow and they were squatting and eating carcasses of yak. And they were like, what do you think this is? This is the land of Dostoevsky and this is the Bolshoi. I mean, come on. Look, nobody sat down and explained the rudiments, the way it looks, when you're going to meet somebody. They didn't plan the stagecraft. How do you say? What do you say? What are your words? What are your words? When you meet, what are the words that you say? Have you ever seen Ted Koppel and Nelson Mandela? Please watch this. Go on YouTube. It was at CUNY 92nd Street Y or something. I don't know what it was, but it was in New York. And Mandela was here and he was talking about, and he says, Mr. Mandela, why have you aligned yourself with that terrorist thug, Yasser Arafat? And Mandela is speaking in perfect English. He has an accent, but if you read back the if you read back what was said, you couldn't tell that the person did not speak English. It was perfect English. Whereas if you play back a Shannon Sharp show, you can say, this is wrong. But affectation and whatever it is. Okay. Watch how Ted Koppel handles Nelson Mandela. This is Mr. Mandela. Many people suggested your affinity with Yasser goes, let me tell you something. My good friend Yasser Arafat never turned our back. And he goes, and he was behind us. And he never was unflagging in his support. And him and Gaddafi and Castro, he was unapologetic. He was ready for that question. And watch it. And as he does this, Ted Koppel's kind of doing a hamana, but still very, very cool. And Mandela's best line was, there's a part he goes, have I paralyzed you? And people are laughing. Even it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Let's take a breather right now, friends. Listen very, very carefully. Listen to our good friends. A man who has devoted his life to luxuriation. A man who has taken something as simple as the pillow and the slipper and the robe and applied his genius to it. Ladies and gentlemen, you know who I'm talking about. Well, it is time yet again, my friends, to hail and salute our great friends at mypillow.com. And if you use promo code Lionel, you'll get a free gift. No purchase necessary. And yes, I know, a free gift. It's a tautology, so sue me. But first, please listen. What are we talking about here? Down comforters, flannel sheets, Giza Dream bed sheets, My Pillow 2.0 sheets, slippers, percales, towels, quilts, bedspreads, mattresses, mattress covers, mattress toppers, linens, kitchen towels, bathrobes, name it. Literally name it. Items to help you luxuriate and relax. And they're monster sellers. Slippers. My slippers. That's right. Slip-ons, moccasins. Think about it. What do they do at My Pillow? They make things real soft and plush and comfy. How perfect. Now here's the link. MyPillow.com promo code Lionel or MyPillow.com /Solidus or Virgil /Lionel or call 800-645-4965. And watch how fast Mike answers the phone. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel, simply and absolutely the best. You know, my friends, life is hostage negotiation. It really is. It's that simple. And you always have to think ahead of time. You always have to think about how things look. I want you very carefully sometimes to go back in time. And I know Spark will get a kick out of this one, but I want you to look when the Japanese surrendered. Remember that. MacArthur had nothing but contempt for these people. He hated them. But they had to do the right thing, and he had to, of the Missouri, wherever the hell it was in them. And they're, they go up to it and they, okay. Are we done yet? It's like, okay, let's go ahead. Let's get this over with, beating these bastards, these sick and it was to see these Japanese leaders with their top hats, and it was just the stagecraft, the way it works. Appomattox. Do you remember this? Do you remember? There was, and this was important, there was Robert E. Lee, got there early, or got there on time at this house. Do you remember that? There was no Grant yet. Grant's not there yet. Grant's nowhere to be found. You know how Grant is. He always looks like he's like off of a bender. He's dirty and dusty, and the man's a real warrior, for the love of God. So he finally shows up and finally does this thing, and he shows up and he's just full of dust, and he sits down, and there was, just think about what that's like. Lee was just this, oh my God, he was this superb officer, superb. I think he was like #1 in his class or close to it at West Point. I mean, just incredible. And there he was, surrendering. And it was so interesting because Grant said, nobody hoot, nobody howl, nobody say anything, nobody nothing. You show him respect. You got that? Respect. Everything worked. And this little thing, and I remember at one point there was a, so the story goes, there was a horseman that was coming towards after they had executed the surrender, and a horseman coming, charging. And somebody said, "This son of a bitch," whatever the command was to, get your gun ready, shoot this son of a gun if he doesn't stop. Everybody said, no, this is okay. I can tell he's not going to hurt anybody. So the man came up. So the story goes, this is a bit apocryphal, of course. And he did something where he took his hat off, but he put his sword pointed to his stirrup, and the horse's head dipped. I mean, it was like this incredible fealty and this respect, and oh my God. And he said, everybody keeps their weapons, keeps their horses. That's it. We're Americans. We're going home. Beautiful. Everything thought out. Everything precisely thought out. Sparky says, Mandela would have been nothing without Biden marching alongside of him in protest. Without Biden, Mandela would have been nothing without Biden marching alongside him in protest. I'm not sure I understand that one, but that's interesting. Nonetheless, I appreciate that. I remember the time people telling me that Mandela's a commie, ANC's a bunch of commies. He's got Castro behind him, and so wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Your country's in the midst of apartheid, huh? And nobody's siding with you except Arafat. Castro, and who else? I think it was Arafat. See, this is the part that but I don't know why Putin said to. I don't understand why he could. Did he have to say, that's pretty weak? Because this is a guy who basically, I don't understand it, because this, for lack of a better word, Tucker is really an ally. Or at least he's sympathetic to the cause. And I don't understand what was the purpose of that. I don't get that. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just silly. I don't get that one. I don't know what it was, because they're laughing at him now. And it's like, I don't get that. Maybe something went on that we don't know about. I don't know. And I was thinking to myself, what would I ask him? What would I ask him? My problem is I understand exactly what he's doing. I'd probably do more. See, because what people don't know about Putin, what they don't understand is that Putin could have gone in there. He only had 190,000 troops. In 1939, imagine this, in Poland, West Poland, because the Russians were going to take the other half, so to speak. Hitler had about close to, 1.5 or so million troops for little old West Poland. And if Putin was going to really go in and take Ukraine, he would have had to occupy. And that would have been 3 million that he would have needed to stay there. He obviously doesn't want to do this. Let me say this again. Let me phrase how I would say. President Putin. It is obvious to the casual observer, and obvious to the historian, and more than obvious to anybody who has a scintilla of military wherewithal. But your goal was not to occupy, which is the whole purpose. To invade, if you're not going to occupy, there's no point of invading. You know the whole thing about breaking and entering, the burglary part? You can break and say, hey, we broke it. Let's go. Don't you want to go in? No, I don't want to enter. I just want to break. No such thing as that. But in this particular case, very interesting, very interesting. What do we have? We have a man who basically says, okay, we're going to just, I went into secure places to secure it. I want you to get the idea. We're not kidding around. We're going to denazify while we're here, and we have no interest whatsoever. So my question, President Putin, is what exactly is your goal? What again, this goes back to what I said. What is your goal? When will you have achieved it? What is it that you're looking for? MacArthur had some regard for Japanese and other Asian culture as he lived in that area, well, in the Philippines, for much of his career. By the way, Biden claimed to have marched with Mandela. Oh, this Biden. As we say, Mishkino Biden. Honey, if Sparky says it's true, it's true. I'm not saying if he says it's true, it's 100% true. I don't even want to. I don't even want to. I don't even want to. It's 100% true. It's 100% true. Believe me when I tell you that. This I know. This I know. He doesn't lead us astray. So don't even question what this man says. Don't even intimate that it could in any wise be short of pure and 100% unmitigated veracity. That's a joke, son. Thank you so much. Now you do realize something that Sparky, that things are bad when you can't tell a joke. Where if you say things, if Biden says, well, Biden claims to have actually carved Mount Rushmore. Anybody else who say he didn't say that, can't say that with Biden. Isn't that something? Doesn't that tell you everything? Doesn't that tell you anything? Now, my friends, let me ask you something. Do you know anybody who is a Putin lover or a Putin apologist who has something for Russia? Who they're not communists. I don't know what it is that you want. During the days of the Soviet Union, that kind of meant something. Have you ever met a Putin, other than somebody who's German, or I mean, not German, a Russian? I guess. Have you ever met anybody? You ever met an American who is a Putin apologist? Anybody who has some kind of connection? I haven't. Have you ever had it? Boy, I'm that Putin. I'm with him 100%. Yeah. You Russian? No. You want to go to Russia? No. I had a friend years ago who she was into Russian. She thought Dr. Zhivago, Alexander. What is not one? No, was it? Oh God, what was that book about the Romanovs and the family and something in Alexandria? But anyway, she was into like Dr. Zhivago or something. To Russia with love. She had this cursory, this very, very cursory idea of, and there were people years ago who would adopt Russian kids because of this thing about, I don't know. Where the real thing is, if you look at Ukraine, brood mares, well, I'm being a big exaggerated, but surrogacy, sometimes compelled, sometimes not. See, we got this thing where sometimes we like the way those Ukrainians look, like that blonde hair, blue eyed. You know what I mean? And so this is terrible. But when you're talking about baby markets, and I'm not even sure if there even is an adoption market in Ukraine. But isn't it true? Weren't there surrogacy? This is huge. So I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to meet somebody and say, where is there a Putin apologist? I haven't met one. Mandela inspired Gaddafi to help Africa as a whole, but Hillary put a stop to it. Mandela was impressive and inspiring. Let me tell you something I'll never forget. There was a woman. I used to go to this place. Remember her? She was so sweet. She was from Mali, and but lived or was very familiar with Libya, and she loved. She was black. She was like a Fezan, but black African, because there were three parts. There were three aspects: Tripolitania, Cyrenaica, and Fezan. The Fezan were, this is the black Africans, because they kind of gerrymandered and they put this together. Cyrenaica, Tripolitania was Tripoli, but Cyrenaica, I believe, was with Benghazi, was it? And they loved him. They had education paid for. They were living great. They loved him. She had no reason to say she's here in this country. She could have said whatever she wanted. And at the time, I remember the time I was doing something for a local TV show, and nobody really understood where Libya was. It was kind of like gerrymandered in the old days with Mussolini. It's just weird, and they gotta put things together. But anyway, and I'm not in any way saying that. Is that the woman that we know with the manicurist who said they were the nicest people? Was it Gaddafi or was it Hussein? It was, Gaddafi, right? It was Gaddafi. We know a woman who every year they have the UN Security Council, and it's people coming from all over the world, and the hookers, and I mean, it's a veritable smorgasbord of anyway. So we had a friend of ours, Mrs. Elnor. She's a manicurist and does hair and this and that. And she'd be hired out. She said the nicest people, the greatest people were the Gaddafi contingents, the whatever it is. When Gaddafi was here, he wanted to go. Remember, he wanted to go to Westchester, go to somebody's backyard and live under a tent. Remember that one? But what he did, which is the most interesting, if you look under the Nubian sandstone aquifer, which sits below basically much of Africa, the Nubian, but a huge bulk of it is right beneath Libya. And he wanted to make Libya arable. He wanted to pump about $25 billion into this. He wanted to bring water. And I'm telling you, as I've been telling you, my dear friends, if you've noticed what I've been saying forever and ever, hydro-imperialism will be the casus belli of the immediate future. Water, hydrology, hydro-imperialism. That was probably more of a reason than anything else. Yes, we wanted to go nationalize the oil and everything, but that was one of the reasons. Because remember, look at the whole notion of the Iraq War, Tigris and the Euphrates, the Fertile Crescent. This is the Garden of Eden. This is what we're talking about. Water is going to be it. See, let me explain something to you. There's three things that you need to know, and that are the most important, the most critical, is food, water, and energy. That's it. Everything else, we can live without a cell phone. It's all right. Food, water, and energy, different story altogether. Listen very carefully to this. Listen carefully. I said, listen carefully to this. Let's talk about a very serious subject, emergency food. That's right, emergency food. I know. At first blush, it's difficult for most people to think about something that they just take for granted, ever reaching emergency status. We're used to stores always being open, deliveries always made, no supply chain disasters, no ransomware catastrophes, none of that stuff. Nothing shutting down our gas stations, right? No trucking strikes, no war, no protests from farmers, nothing catastrophic in terms of weather. Nope, that can't happen to us. And I understand it's a defense mechanism that we have, because the idea of ever not being able to eat or locate food is seemingly incomprehensible. Well, it's not. That's why it's time for you to go to my site, preparewithlionel.com. Preparewithlionel.com has the deal of deals for you. I'll take it as a starter set. You've been putting off emergency food for too long. Some people still have a thing about prepping as though preparing for emergency is foolish. Now, right now, you can save $60 on a 4-week emergency supply kit. This is unbelievable. 16 varieties with a 25-year shelf life, 2,000 calories a day in 2 beautifully modular buckets that weigh 38 pounds total. These are waterproof and they're perfectly stackable. 4 weeks, a month. Now, be honest, could you go a week without any trips to any store? I'm not talking about having stuff in your cabinet. I'm not talking about banana chips and jerky. I mean food, real food. So go right now to preparewithlionel.com, right now, right this moment, preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. You'll thank me, trust me. If you know, my dear friends, what I'm trying to do is, I'm hearkening back and repeating the words of Mearsheimer, this notion of realism. Just tell me the way things really are, not the way they should be, not whether things are nice or whatever. But by the way, to be fair to Tucker, and I mentioned this in the thumbnail, can you imagine if Jon Stewart were to have been talking to him? Jon Stewart? Think about that. Think about that. You know, when you ask yourself, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish in terms of a Tucker's number one is that he was the first one. It doesn't matter. People are going to forget the interview because I don't think people are that. They're going to remember he was the guy who did it. And as these stupid news shows and news stations crumble, as they collapse under the weight of their own ineptitude and their own disutility, as I've been saying for the longest time, you and I and our message will get across. Because our message is bold and it's very inconvenient and very uncomfortable. And if the subject comes up and if it may not, we'll talk about it. But I'm going to say one more thing to you. Be very careful of people who want to talk about stuff that's inconvenient just for the sake of being inconvenient. Okay? I've been through this. I've been through it. And I'm telling you, there are groups of people who just love the idea of the, stuff that's popular. The pedophile group now, the ones who are really super duper. It's called conspiracy theorists, but I mean, it's more like a factual. Years ago, we had all these people that I'm not gonna go through this again, but just remember one thing. It's very simple what we're doing right now. There's nothing deep to this. There's no conspiracies behind this. It's very simple. And no matter what it is, whether it's Gaddafi, it's a little late now, whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, whether it's anybody, always look at things via their eyes, how they see things, how they observe things, how they are the ones who just look at it through their way of thinking. Sparky reminds us, ladies and gentlemen, he says, in the big picture, Tucker did fine. He made a significant number of people realize that there was another side of the story. Absolutely. And he also did something which is fantastic. And that's simply this. There was a time where everybody wanted to be a part of this event. 6:00 that evening, the interview was going to drop. Fantastic. Absolutely, utterly, incredibly fantastic. We were there. We were a part of it. That was history. That was something. It was incredible. Incredible. That's all I will say. I don't know what the hell this is. Enough, Dutchman. Leave. Whatever that means. I don't know what that means. I hit the button by accident. Okay, dear friends, I want to thank you. And tonight, I want to thank Sparky. Sparky, you have been more than kind in your questions, apposite, relevant, poignant, perfect. Dare I say sometimes a bit priggish and punctilious, but always perfect. And I thank you for that. I thank you tremendously for this. Now, we will again meet tomorrow at the same bad time in the morning. Tomorrow, our subject will be a little bit different. I could give it to you right now, but I don't know. I'd have to leave out of this. It's, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I know what it is. Stand by. I'll tell you what tomorrow's topic is. In the morning, it's very easy. It is, wait a minute. It is, yes. Prepare for revolution in the streets. Think that's far-fetched? What do you think's going on right now? What do you think Kansas City was? What do you think's going on here? What's next? What's next? Revolution in the street does not necessarily mean violent. It could. The election could be a revolution in that sense, and it will prove to be. But think about that for tomorrow. Could there be revolution? What will revolution look like? That's all I want to say. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious and a beauteous day. Let me also remind you that if you the private channel is doing well, I sit back and will give you, in addition to a music, an hour plus of just how do I say this? A little bit more, more brutal. There are some rules that we have to abide by here, and that's fine. And I have no problem abiding by the rules. But if you're interested in that, that is the link. I would much rather talk about things in greater detail, subjects that I don't want to be spoken of. And because, Sparky, if you think you've got a hard time spelling things, I worry about folks who I think are enjoying newfound popularity here on various platforms. And I appreciate that. But I'm afraid that they may be incorrect when they think that it's over in terms of the prohibition. I think they might think everything is over when in fact it's not. They might be setting you up for the big fall, but we'll see. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious night. See you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Until then, remember these words: the monkey's dead, the show's over, sue you, dead.